Hey guys, it's Bridget with San Diego Seed Company, and we're going to talk about pests in the garden today. Specifically, we're going to talk about gophers. We all got them. It can be a really big pain in the garden. They can destroy your whole garden and leave you very frustrated. And so I'm going to talk about gopher traps, and specifically the Macabee, how you use it, when you use it. I'll show you what I do specifically in our garden and on our farm. But before I get into that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you're notified anytime we put out a video. Okay, let's hop into it. So, beautiful patch of seeding lettuce here. Looks amazing. But oddly enough, we've got these little holes here. Where did the plants go? Well, they were sucked down into the ground by gophers. This is a new part of the garden, and for those of you who follow the channel, you saw that we just developed this recently. So we haven't gotten a control on the gophers, and what happens anytime you start a new garden area, specifically an area that was never, if it was never developed before, and then you start irrigating it, the soil starts to get soft and pliable, gophers will move into the area because they can easily make their tunneling systems. And so you'll notice them. And it is likely that they were probably there before, but because you have plants that you're watching, you're really gonna notice them because they're gonna start disappearing. You'll see plants where half of them may be eaten or chewed off, or you'll just see holes where the plants were actually pulled into the ground. Luckily, gophers are not as bad in this area of our garden, but on our Ramona farm, we've literally been sitting there and just watch and see plants like cartoon style just get sucked into the ground. And it's really frustrating. I believe in trying to garden in a way in which you are in partnership with nature and that you are trying to work together, but there does become a time when, unfortunately, if everything you're planting is getting totally destroyed by the gophers, then you're going to want to control them or manage them. It is not something that I think it's realistic that you'll ever get rid of all of them. And in some ways, gophers do some beneficial, they do some beneficial things to the garden. They're tilling your soil. They're making a tunnel system where air and water can move through the soil, which is really important. So they're allowed to be in my garden to some degree, as long as they're not totally wiping out everything. If you're in raised beds, you can put down gopher wire, which can basically exclude them from getting into the raised bed. For us, because we plant in ground in such a massive area, that's just simply not possible. We could never do that. So what we do is we use traps, and we use something called the Macabee. That's what this guy is. It's called the Old Reliable because it is a long-used trapping system that landscapers have been using, farmers, agricultural workers, to trap gophers. And basically, the way that it works, it's called a cinch trap. And you can see you have this little tripwire here, and this has to actually go up inside the middle part here. And funny enough, I get so many people who don't know how to set these because it can be a little confusing. Where this middle stick goes is very, very important. You can't set it otherwise. So it has to go here in the middle, and then with your two fingers, you push down on it, and you can see that this part here, basically this holds down the snapping mechanism. And then the metal plate goes in, and you can hold it with your thumbs behind it to keep that metal plate in. What happens is a gopher comes through, trips this, and it snaps, and it will catch the gopher. Now, I am a little concerned about the comments that we might get on this video because this is not a live trapping system. You cannot trap gophers and relocate them. This will kill the gopher, and that is a sad thing. I believe that we should take all of the world's creatures very seriously. However, there's no way that we as farmers can make a living if we are simply planting for the crops to get destroyed by the gophers. So there is a balance that we have to play there. And I hope that people understand that in watching this video and know that trapping your gophers is a way in which you can manage them. And unfortunately, you can't relocate them. So you are going to kill them by using this process. So We set it like this, and this is a live trap. So once you set it, you want to be very careful you don't get your fingers caught in there. And then the trap is set inside the tunnel. And now that is very important, because especially if you have kids running around or pets running around or dogs, you don't want this trap just sitting here like this. That would really hurt a puppy's paw if he came by and stepped on that and got that stuck in his paw. So once it is set, you want to handle it with care, and then you want to put it inside the gopher tunnel. Now, that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is finding the gopher tunnel, which can be somewhat difficult. I've had years and years of doing this, of experience doing it, so I am pretty well versed at it. The way in which you want to do it is you want to first find the gopher, the area that the gopher is causing trouble. If you go down early in the morning or late at night, you're most likely to see active gopher activity, and so you might even see a hole where a gopher is poking up, and then you can simply put the trap inside that hole where it's active. We're down here shooting this video. It's late morning. They've all gone back to their burrows to enjoy the feast of things that they've pulled from my garden. I'm not going to see any activity, but what I can do is find a tunnel. Now I can see here these holes where the gopher has pulled products through. And I also can see here, this is, you can see where the soil is kind of crumbly like this. This is where the gopher has actually pulled up soil, pushed it up to continue building its tunnel system. So I know somewhere in here, there is gopher tunnels. If you've purchased our Gopher Hawk, you know that it comes with a little metal probe. And basically what it does is you can poke down into the ground and look for the tunnel system. You can use a stick, you can use a metal probe, oh wow, and find the tunnel. And it is a very specific feeling when you've hit a gopher tunnel. You're pushing it down and you'll just feel it kind of fall. And you know that you've hit a void space, and that's where a gopher tunnel is. I like to do a few pokes and see to confirm where that hole is. And I can tell that there's a gopher tunnel down here because of the way that it fell through. You can use a shovel. On the farm, actually, what I love to use is a post hole digger. It just is really easy to cut out a nice little section of soil. But for this case, I'm just gonna use a little shovel here. I'm gonna dig. And I'm gonna look and find that gopher tunnel. Now, not always do we get lucky. And this process does involve digging up some of your garden, unfortunately. Okay, I'm not finding anyone here, so I'm gonna put this back here, and I'm gonna keep trying until I find one. So you can probably just fast forward through all of this. What I do need to do is because this field was just irrigated, I actually grabbed 2 different probes here. You can use anything for a probe, but pointy is really nice because you can really feel that void that I talked about in the gopher hole. Or if you have an actual garden probe, which is what this is, this will actually, give me a sample of the soil and probe down. If you have really hard soil, this is not gonna work. You can use rebar, you can use basically anything that'll poke down into the soil that's gonna allow you to feel if there's a void in the soil, which tells you there's a gopher tunnel. So I'm gonna keep poking around here and try to find me a gopher tunnel. I also found some beautiful worms. Happy soil. Okay, so through the probing process, I was able to find a tunnel. Now, the best tunnels are tunnels where you basically find a cross section and you can put a trap in either side. Those are like gold to me, and I rarely find them, and when I do, I know I'm definitely gonna get the gopher. And it's gonna take me a while to find that, so for the sake of this video, I'm gonna show you. Here's a single hole. I can put my hand down in here and I can feel that the tunnel starts to kind of turn a little bit. You want to put your hand in there, I know it's a little scary, to make sure that it's not a dead end, because sometimes you'll find a tunnel, but it will actually have been basically plugged up by the gopher, and so you'll put the trap in there and there's no way that they're gonna come get it. So I know that this tunnel goes all the way through, or at least as far as I can put my hand. I don't feel a plug, and I can go ahead and set the trap. You do not have to use any baits, anything like that. Contrary to popular belief, the gophers aren't going to smell anything on your hands. Your scent isn't going to be on it, so it's perfectly safe to use, just a regular hand. If you want to use gloves, you can. Obviously, I don't use gloves. Now, this gopher trap is going to go in here, and I'm going to set it at an angle where basically I know that the gopher is going to come and hit that trigger. That's what you want. That's the most important. I do have a string. You can use wire, you can use anything, but you do want to tie it to something. This is important because if you don't, especially if you live in an area with a lot of wild animals, we've had even coyotes run off with our gophers before, which I don't care. They can have the gopher, but I need the trap back. So I like to tie it up. And there's a lot of different theories out there on the best way to set a gopher trap. We've worked with professional gopher trapping companies, and over my decade of doing this, I have found that the best way to do it for us personally is to actually refill the hole with something like, this is perfect, a nice chunk of soil. That's gonna do two things. One, it's gonna keep anything that I don't want to go in there out, like my kitty cats or dog. It's also going to block out the light, so it's more likely that the gopher will come through that tunnel, and it's going to allow for something to be on the back side of that trap so that when the gopher pushes on it, it doesn't just continue to slip, and they're more likely to hit the trigger then. What I'll do is I'll come down here about 24 hours and I'll check the trap. You can leave them for, up to, I would say, 2 days. If you don't see any activity, you probably have a dead gopher tunnel. It's not an active one, so it doesn't matter. And so you can just pull it out and then try again. I always recommend setting more than one trap. You're gonna have the best luck that way. And it is something where you really have to practice patience. You're gonna have to be setting these traps over and over and over until you take care of the area that has the issues. Gophers are territorial, and so if you can get it under control, then likely the issue will subside for a couple of months or maybe throughout the summer, and then you'll see more the following season when they start to become active again. So what I'll do is I'll come down here, pull this off, and I will pull this out and see if it has tripped. If it has tripped, sometimes they will push dirt back into it and you'll just see that it's tripped like this and it'll have a bunch of soil in it. Or it may have a gopher in it. If it does have a gopher in it, then you can dispose of that and then continue to trap. So that's how we manage gophers on our farm. I would never, ever, ever in a million years support or advocate using any types of poisons in the garden, period. There are environmental ramifications of that. We have two beautiful hawks that fly over the garden, and they help keep our mice and rodent population down. So by using anything like that in the garden, I could threaten that species and a lot of others. So this is an alternative where you can simply trap them. It is chemical-free, poison-free, and you can help manage their population so that you can continue to garden or farm without all of your crops being destroyed by gophers. So that's how that works.